Where do I send you the picture?
You can send it over Telegram if you want, or email. My email is I'm pretty public. It's typical skeptic one, typical skeptic, and then the number one at gmail.com is my email. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I'm really excited about my guests today. They're first time guests on the show, so in the audience, give them a big warm welcome. We have with us today Jerry, Cabazudo, and Leo, and they're going to be talking about equiventics. Oh, sorry, I can't pronounce it. And natural law and Pleiadian
Equivalentics.
contact. Yeah, thank
Mhm.
you. And I wrote for the show promo. I wrote for the first time on Typical Skeptic. We welcome Jerry Cabazudo, founder of Soundpath.org and the Liberation Academy, alongside her friend Leo, who identifies as a Pleiadian changeling and ambassador. This conversation explores the cutting edge of consciousness, science, and human evolution. Topics include what is a changeling and how does it relate to ET contact, the concept of equivalentics, the new framework for understanding quantum mechanics, true disclosure versus government controlled narratives, how advanced civilizations operate spiritually and technologically, the 5 natural laws humanity must integrate to evolve. This is next level stuff, so buckle up. And you can find them. I believe Jerry's streaming to her YouTube, so you can find them there on her YouTube. And they're also active on Telegram, and they can give you their socials and everything where they can be found. But Leo and Jerry, thank you guys so much for coming on. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much for having us. I've been meaning to do this for a while, and I'm so glad we're here and that Leo is here as well.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and and what we're going to be getting into today.
Um, so yeah, I met Leo a couple years ago through the ET research community. I myself am a contactee, just researching about, various extraterrestrial civilizations. And when I met Leo, um, we had a sort of telepathic communication, and the rest is history. He's a dear friend, and I'm learning equivalentics, which is a simplified form of quantum mechanics, some of it which has been shared with humanity already in the form of quantum physics. But I'll let Leo introduce himself and go from there.
All right, so I'm Leo Vance. Um, I'm a changeling with the Pleiadians. I've been living among them most of my life, and I am very familiar with their culture. I am coming as an ambassador directly from their higher ups to help humanity evolve and reach the next stage in life. We have been in contact with humanity's overlords or leadership. It's, to say the least, it's not very successful. Seems like they are not really listening. So I made a decision to start and from like, let's say, from the truther community, from people that maybe one day hopefully will switch them.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Jerry, tell us a little bit about like what your contact, like what, how did you, what kind of ET contact have you had?
Yeah, so when I was 8 years old, I was living in New England at the time. At the time, car seats weren't really a thing. And so I was sort of looking backwards as my parents were driving the station wagon, and I saw this huge multi football field size craft. It was black. It had a sort of triangular edge to it. It looked like an aerial view of an upside down city at night, but it was suspended above and it was just looming, and then I blacked out. So that was my first experience. In 2018, I had a CE5 experience following Stephen Greer's protocol, which honestly, I think his earlier work is a bit more. It holds more weight for me as a
Wait.
researcher. Yeah. because nowadays, a lot of his commentary of, oh, let's just do CE5, all the civilizations are benevolent. No, they are not. When I followed the CE5 protocol, I had a interaction with quite a malevolent entity, which I was checking out your previous podcast guest, Penny Bradley, whose work I respect deeply. And she was mentioning this group, and I have had interactions with them as well. So not all civilizations here are friendly towards humanity, and for the ones that are benevolent, like Leo's, I can understand why they're careful about who they interact with. I think there's a reason, and Leo, you can speak more to this, but I come from the natural law community as defined by Mark Passio and others, where basically, if one were to summarize natural law, it's the idea of don't steal and don't kneel. We're not going to harm sentient beings, including other civilizations, and we're not going to allow our violation of our rights to go on. And so this community, a lot of, and we'll talk more about this later, but this community really follows a lot of deocculted principles, such as not lying to oneself and to others. And so I think, because I've shown myself through my friendship with Leo and through his associates that I truly strive to be an objectively moral being who's not hell-bent on joining humanity's trajectory of nuking ourselves to oblivion. There's a reason why they're not sharing more knowledge, more technologies with us, because we're not trustworthy as a species right now. Humanity is not.
Muted. And Leo, what did you want to back that up, or did you want to tell us a little bit about your contact and how it began and when you first realized you were a Pleiadian?
Yeah, I'll just interject on one of the things that Jerry said towards the end about not giving technologies. So actually, we are giving a lot. It's just that humanity's leaders are the ones who can actually do something about it, because they're the one having all the all of the tools in order to make it into reality, except they just don't. Gave them 0-point energy, wireless electricity. These are the two things that we are basically waiting for them to implement before we can give them the rest, because if we want to give them nanotechnology and implants, which would make life so much better, they need wireless electricity. Without them, they won't work. So regarding my background, I realized I'm a changeling at the age of 8, and the actual exchange happens when I was 6 months old. And then I started astral traveling to the place I'm coming from and to other planets. Eventually, I called one of those planets the Pleiadian home planet home. While it is important to say that many people know the Pleiadians from the Galactic Federation, but in total, there's about 25 billion Pleiadians in the galaxy. And so they are divided into 3 civilizations. The most famous one and the most influential one is the Galactic Federation. But actually, the most advanced ones are the Nordics. They're also Pleiadian. Throughout history, they were called Norns by Vikings and Fairies by Irish. These are the Nordics. And the Galactic Federation actually come from Atlan, which are also on the home planet. And Atlan, maybe that word doesn't mean much to you because they don't contact humanity directly, but they have been in the past, and that's where the word Atlantis comes from. Atlantis means a settlement outside of their original borders. So it's not a name of a city, it's a type.
Wow. And was Atlantis like a huge civilization, Leo? Would you say?
These are just colonies, basically. That's Atlantis means colonization.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But colonized by ET civilizations, basically.
Pleiadians from Atlan.
Would that be the Anunnaki or?
No, it's just Pleiadians from Atlan, and it's not even all Pleiadians. The Nordics are not calling their cities something special. They like to integrate themselves with local population, so they don't like separate themselves.
So do you think that there were different ET civilizations that settled in different parts of the world at different times, and that's why maybe humanity we all look different and stuff like that?
Yeah, and I don't think it's only Pleiadians, Andromedans as well. Andromedans and Pleiadians are also humanoid. Actually, with Pleiadians, it's very hard to tell that someone is a Pleiadian or a human. With Andromedans, they look a bit differently. But they are both humanoid, so it means they are compatible with humans. And so, yes, they did integrate.
Wow, that's cool. And would you say other species did too, like the Anunnaki, reptilians, Lyrans? Like, did we talk about the Lyran wars a lot? Do we have like basis for all that as well?
Yeah, just but what kind of Lyrans are we speaking about? There is like the Lyrians, the ones that look like cat people, and there is the Lyrans as the Lyran civilization.
That's cool. I didn't know that. That's so interesting to know. Yeah, I had no clue that there was different. I mean, yeah. I guess both. Like, did both settle here, or what happened?
So Lyrians, they are a little bit more advanced than humanity. Of course, they're interstellar, but they are less advanced than Pleiadians. But they are helping in protecting the Earth with their own spaceships. And Lyrans, or as we call it, Lear, is it's a super nation that existed on the Pleiadian home planet up until I think 900 years ago. And so the Lyrans basically were Pleiadians, and they settled around India.
Wow. Would you say that India is like our oldest civilization, or would it go back to, I guess, to Atlantis and Tartaria and Lemuria and all that?
So
Sorry, that was
I don't really know about Lemuria. I know I heard that name before. I just don't have much information about what it was actually. I guess that Indian is the oldest civilization that exists today. Obviously, there were other civilizations that don't exist anymore, like Babylon and Sumerian, which are probably much older, and and Assyrian as well. So they were probably older, but they don't exist today. And now about you asked, except for Lemuria, what are the other ones you spoke about?
I was saying, I guess the older civilizations would be like, Tartaria was around at some point, and then Atlantis, right?
No, so Tartaria is rather new. It's we are not exactly sure where, because it seems we are still researching that civilization as well. As of now, and I'm saying this is not a complete research, we believe that Tartaria was actually a human civilization. They had Pleiadians with them, but it was run and worked by humans, and they were more advanced than we are today, but they are not very old. They were around 200-300 years ago.
Wow.
Atlantis, there were, according to Atlantis archives, there were 7 Atlantises across the world in different locations. The earliest one was here 3,000 years ago, and the latest one was here 800 years ago.
Yeah. And one thing before we get into the topics for today, I wanted to ask you, because it seems like you know a lot about galactic history and what's going on with the ETs, Leo. Do you think the ETs have anything going on with today's current events, like the war that's going on and all that stuff? Like, do the ETs have an opinion on that? Do you think?
Yes, they have something to do with the war going on today. They are the ones who prompt it in the beginning, because there is an alien invader here, and I'm sure you've already kind of had contact with it. People had contact with it, they just cannot really point their finger on what it is. And the job of the benevolent ETs is to kick them out of here, and they like to reside in specific areas. Usually, they tie themselves deeply with religion because they find the religious people easiest to manipulate. And so, places that are very heavy with religion usually end up as citadels, what we call citadels, which are like almost impenetrable by any light workers.
Yeah.
So, essentially, Iran is one of them. The people themselves on the streets, they are the victims here. They are like caught in the middle. But right now, this is a war of humans versus humans. We're still kind of waiting for um, the malevolent alien to come out of its trenches. Hasn't come out yet.
Go ahead, Jerry. It sounded like you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, I listened to some of, like I said, some of Penny Bradley's conversation with you, and she directly mentions the jinn, DJINN. So if people want to understand more about the history of this specific malevolent civilization that has plagued humanity for over 40,000 years, I suggest researching that area as a starting point. I noticed in the chat people are wondering what is a changeling. And Leo, you were about to speak about that. So maybe you can go into more detail to kind of explain.
Yeah, so in the Irish culture, that's an exchange. In the Scandinavian culture, that's called a changeling. And it happens when an entity which, as far as I know, needs to be compatible with humans, switches the higher self, the original higher self that is attached to the original 3D body, with a different soul. And so the higher self uh, is biologically different, is looking differently, and is and then the soul slowly, if it happens from a very early age, it starts to merge, and then you kind of become one, and it becomes your new higher self. Now, if it doesn't happen in a very early age, it might not happen at all. I know a few people that are changelings or exchange that them and the higher self are like completely different entities. They don't even speak with one another. And just imagine living a life where you cannot use your higher self as a better version of you because it doesn't want anything to do with you. But in my case, it happened in a very early age, so I was one of the lucky ones. One of the ways to see that you are to see that yeah, of course, at the age of 8, entities came to me and told me that I was an exchange or a changeling. But then when you go to the astral travel and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're seeing something different from the way that you look on Earth, then you realize it was true.
And there's other beings like you. One prominent example is Alex Collier, if people want to follow his work, if they're not already familiar. But there are changelings like you that have gone public.
Yeah, according to my personal statistics, 1 in 13 people is a changeling, which is a lot.
Looks like you're muted, Rob.
How do we know if we're a changeling? Like, what would be a sign or like?
First of all, you will feel like an alien on this planet, like you truly not belong here. It's not like something that you just have sometimes where you feel like you don't belong or you feel like your place is elsewhere. It's like lingering all the time. You always feel like you don't belong anywhere, like you were ripped out of your original place and put somewhere else. So that's one way to know if you're one. The other one is usually you would have light working abilities and also experiences from a very young age. Now, having those experiences doesn't necessarily mean that you're a changeling, but it's a big hint. And the other one is so like when I was at the age of 8, and those entities came to speak to me, I was only able to hear them. I was not able to see them yet. So basically, people that are having what we would call imaginary friends after the age of 4 or 5, it's a pretty good, big flag that maybe those imaginary friends are not really imaginary and not always friends.
I love that. Yeah. And we were going to get into Jerry. We were going to get into some stuff that you guys are working on, like Equivalentics. What is this? You said it's the new framework for understanding quantum mechanics.
Yes. So I've been talking with Leo, befriending him, learning Equivalentics, and people need to go through their own trivium process to understand disclosure. And what I mean by this, the trivium is a classical method of understanding knowledge, reality. One needs to go through the input process, gathering the knowledge, gathering the grammar. They need to process it. They need to go through their logic, and then they need to output. They need to share that rhetoric with the world. That is how we do research. That is how we understand reality. I'm not coming here saying, believe everything Leo says, believe me. Like, I have gone through my own trivium process. I've had telepathic conversations with Leo and his associates. I've seen aerial phenomena while on calls and not on calls with him and his civilization. So, and Equivalentic specifically, I think is a very just obvious as you learn it, you realize this is not taught on Earth. Now, there are aspects like the field of quantum physics that has been shared with humanity, but the things that I've been exposed to in regards to equivalentics it's just not being taught on this planet. And the implications are not just for interstellar travel, not just for free energy, also for remote viewing. I mean, the possibilities are wide. And I was just talking to Leah before we went live. I reached a moment in my understanding of equivalentics where I just felt utter sorrow for humanity's own ignorance. The way we teach math and physics to children, to ourselves, we are doing ourselves a disservice in the way we interact with numbers, and even like the simple things like pi or the Fibonacci sequence. I mean, these are things that most civilizations that evolve discover on their own, because humanity is so ignorant, because they're so caught up in their own Dunning-Kruger effect, that they think that they're intelligent when they're not, when they're just woefully ignorant and just woefully immoral. There's just you just sort of discover within yourself. Just, I've been dealing with like shame, honestly, just for being human. Like, I'm just it's just, we really need to get with the program, or we will be annihilated from our own choices, immoral choices and actions in this world.
Wow.
Like, straight up. Like, no civilization is going to want to interact with us the way we behave. Who wants to interact with hairless apes that nuke each other and have false flag wars and, do child sex trafficking and satanic ritual abuse? Like, no one wants to interact with us, and for good reason.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Do you guys feel like that's what the ET civilizations think about us? I mean, obviously we have a big problem with the child set yeah, that's a huge problem here, right? That's like, you know, and the
Lio,
ETs are seeing that, right? They're witnessing that. They're seeing how we interact with our right?
Leo, you guys say that you have a word for pedophilia in your culture. You just call it
No. Actually, no. We
right.
don't have a word for it, and that's the problem. Like to us, it's so messed up. So it's like we're just calling it abomination, and it's not a common word because we don't recognize it. And so, yeah, it is kind of putting a black spot on humanity. Like when they're saying, "What do you think about living among humans?" Saying these kids molest their children all the time. You really want to do that?
Yeah, and it's like we find out that like in some of these Abrahamic religions, it's in their books, that like it's they feel like it's okay to like I don't know. I've been watching podcasts and I've been hearing a lot of stuff about some of the Abrahamic religions and the way they I don't know, like in their books. Yeah, I don't know if I should go into that because I don't want to get the video taken down from YouTube. But yeah, uh,
I
yeah,
mean,
well,
at the end of the day, if anyone wants to do satanic ritual abuse survivor research stories, and you'll notice that the ET research community and the SRA research community are there. There's a convergence point. They are engaging the parasite class is engaging in massive child sacrifice to open portals for these malevolent civilizations to enter our realm. That is what is happening. On a literal level, our immoral actions in funding these wars through taxes, through just our slavery, abdicating our power to authority, to man-made authority, we are summoning these malevolent entities into our realm by not
wow,
taking a stand against our governments, by not taking a stand against man-made authority worldwide. We are
Actually,
reaping what
the
we
bigger
sow.
problem are the religious institutes. They are bigger traffickers than the government.
Well,
that's
that
a good point.
too. I mean, it's all religion, right? Like government is a religion, religion's a
No,
religion,
it's
it's
not
all
all
religion.
religion. It's not all
Hmm.
religion, but it is more common with religion.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of embedded in some of them. It's yeah. Man, I'm trying to think.
I think it's more
Uh,
than indoctrination. The fact that no one is, when you have a religion or like a priest or a guru, you don't question anything they say, and they don't question anything they read or like touch with other entities. And the result is that they can be manipulated very easily.
absolutely.
And this is literally like in class one of Equivalentics, which is available on godislovetruthfreedom.com, as well as my YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and Spotify, and onegreatworknetwork.com channels. We're in class one, I corrected Leo, and that's part of how the reason why Pleiadians have advanced is because they're not afraid of questioning the authority figure, the teacher. It's encouraged. You want to go more into that, Leo?
Yeah, I even say that um, we would make mistakes, and we would actually tell the students that it's their responsibility to point out those mistakes. Now, of course, it's not that everyone really does make mistakes. Sometimes they are like fanatics and are um, perfectionists, so they never make mistakes. So they're encouraged by the Ministry of Science to insert mistakes on purpose so that students would be able to point them out because it's part of the understanding process. It's part of the learning process that when they feel confident enough to point to a mistake that the teacher was doing.
That's a good point. Yeah. Um, and what else do you teach on your platform, Jerry? Like, what else have you guys been getting into?
Yeah, so whether it's the topic of ET disclosure, whether it's false man-made authority in religions or governmental authority, I am for no masters and no slaves. That is what natural law is promoting. I don't want to enslave others, and I do not want to be enslaved. This is what anarchy actually means. Archon is master, anarchy, no masters. We don't. I don't want to engage in this false dialectic of okay, well, the parasite class is saying, oh, well, if I just enslave everybody, I'm free. No, you're part of that dialectic. It's a false, you're enslaved as well. We're all under this matrix, and we have like I see humanity's potential. I see the infinite potential that we each carry, and it's just so frustrating as a truther to see this disconnect between what is and what could be. I see it like overlaid, and it it's that dissonance is why I'm working so hard in getting this information out, because I think specifically with the ET research community, if people want to have actual contact, you need to be moral. You need to be a good, trustworthy person. You're not going to get to interact and uh, share information and knowledge with uh, higher level beings if you're lower vibrational, right? If you're immoral, period. That's why I'm teaching morality. We have to teach people the basics. Like that's how immoral humanity has become. Like it's that's where we're at right now.
Wow. And what are the five natural laws humanity must integrate to like kind of evolve? Did you want to go over that?
Yeah, so Leo and I have a different framework. Obviously, I come from, the humanities perspective and like various deocculted traditions, but Leo, you have a different sort of version or vocabulary for describing the same thing. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah. Our word for it is Anyefa Tadamare, and it means constitution of life or intelligence life's manifesto of birthrights. And these are five rights, but also guidelines for each civilization to become spiritually evolved. And it is something that is known throughout the galaxy, but is most keenly kept by the Nordics. And the first one is freedom of mind, freedom of choice, natural order, honesty of heart, and fairness of action. So freedom of mind means basically don't lie to people, but also be fully transparent if you're being asked, but also be transparent about the fact of having hazardous information, which is information that can cause you distress or being upset, and usually you cannot do anything about it, and you cannot unknow something. So part of that being freedom of action is making sure that people understand that the answer that they're going to get is not something they would make them happy necessarily. So it's something that we kind of have to come clean before we actually say something. And then so usually we won't say something unless we're being asked about it. Freedom of choice is basically no manipulation, don't lie, don't try to push towards a certain agenda. Um, don't use stuff like MK Ultra, it's just wrong. Um, a third, natural order of things. This has to do with respecting nature and doing things like there are in nature. So, like, I'll give you something that it's probably very unique to Nordics. You have a freedom in life, but you have a freedom in death as well. So, if someone wants to leave the world, no one is trying to stop them. So this is part of natural order, and also, don't kill trees that are not already dead. Don't harm animals. stuff like that. Honesty of heart is the so actually honesty of heart is the don't lie and don't manipulate, and the freedom of choice and freedom of mind, that's the transparency versus hazardous information, and then fairness of action is win-win. So like most of the human economy is based on win-lose, and in our culture we believe that if you think deeply on every situation, you can, by being fair to yourself and others, you can always reach a situation of win-win, because even if, let's say, I'm getting something that I need and you have plenty of, you can get something from me that I don't need and I have plenty of, and that's win-win. So one is exchanging money for, let's say, knowledge.
Yeah, and going from the human side of things, we have very similar principles, right? If one studies a lot of occult traditions, we have this idea of, what is a right? A right is a not wrong. What is wrong? Well, we have deception, coercion, murder, theft, assault, rape, and trespass. These are 7 basic violations of a sentient being's rights. And anything one does outside of that, they're free to do. And within that, a lot of the concepts are similar, where, like I said, stop lying to yourself and to others. And with regard to the I think, Leo, you called it the freedom of heart. There are 7 hermetic principles, as outlined in the Kybalion, with mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Mark Passio added an 8th principle, which is that of care, which I think is so important, that when one suffers, we all suffer. This is a hermetic principle that I truly live by, that regardless of whether it's an animal, whether it's another civilization, even plants, trees specifically, like Leo said, I've had mystical, spiritual experience with trees specifically. So I think it's really important to just, and I do a lot of, I've been working in the transcendental meditation community as well. And once one reaches a certain sense of unity consciousness, you really see that everything is connected, even like rocks. I mean, everything has a sort of what Leo and his civilization would describe as Shem, or soul energy. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Ultimately, if humans don't change their behavior, the law of freedom states that as immorality increases, freedom, slavery increases. Basically, as morality increases, freedom increases. If we are to truly free ourselves, we need to free our own minds, our own programming from the satanic ritual abuse that we've all undergone. We're in one gigantic satanic ritual, essentially, as a species.
Wow. Well, this is amazing. This is some really good stuff. This is amazing stuff. Well, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to add, or is there anything we haven't talked about? We can get into more. I have more time,
Yeah, well, I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about true disclosure versus government disclosure, and I think this is a really important concept to understand. I've met a lot of people in the truther community that are like all excited about the white hats and Q and all this, and to that I say, be very careful and discerning, right? If the military industrial complex is giving you a version of disclosure, you have to ask why. Why are we waiting for the government to give us disclosure, if not for reifying the chain of obedience that basically just reinforces slavery on this planet? We need to free ourselves, not waiting for disclosure from a governmental entity. We can have contact. Lio is contacting us right now. I mean, we can all engage in astral travel. We can all engage in actual contact. We don't need to have it mediated through a governmental body. And so I just anything you guys want to add to that point?
So
Lio, maybe, yeah.
The disclosure, this is something to understand, and this is relatable to anyone, including myself. Learn to question and not take things for granted. Always believe there is an agenda, even if you cannot see it right away. No one is without an agenda. Like, my agenda is to help humanity so that maybe one day they can start not outsourcing, exporting their creativity to the galaxy, because it is well known that humans are probably the most creative species out there. While there are others that are very intelligent, the statistics for a creative human are much higher than anyone else. And many times, Pleiadians, especially Nordics, like to come here and learn from humans and copy what they're doing, because they are just very unique and abstract. And so, so this is my agenda. Others will have an agenda, and you might not always be able to really see it at first, but you have to come from an understanding that everyone has an agenda. And that these civilizations that are more advanced will have agendas that you couldn't even have imagined. So just knowing that they have that agenda will help you see things more clearly for what they are. And I also understand with creativity comes that culture of lying, but this is not unique to humans. Other civilizations lie as well, or sometimes they hide the truth, Pleiadians included. While Nordics are the least liars in the galaxy, they do lie sometimes as well. And Pleiadians in general will sometimes lie in order to kind of convey a message. I was once told by one of the Galactic Federation top tier leaders that when they tried with going with raw truth, nobody listens. And when they are going with 70% lie and stories and 30% truth, they all listen. So it's better to have 30% out of something than 100% out of nothing. And while I do understand that approach, Nordics would probably rather just not speak at all. Now, another thing that is very important for that, I stumbled across many truthers in the past that said, okay, is there proof to anything you say? So the thing is that most of the things I bring are 5D, and they're very hard to bring them into the 3D. And so there is something that humanity need to change in their way of approaching new information. The way that we do things, Pleiadians, is we believe everything until proven otherwise. While humans, they don't believe anything until presented with proof. And just understand, right now you're in the revolution of AI, and I knew how to do it even before AI. I can fabricate every proof that I want. I just won't do it because I'm not comfortable with lying. And while I can provide tangible proof for everything, it usually is going to be fabricated, and I'm not going to resort to that. And when you are believing everything until proven otherwise, you are being more open to new ideas, and you can be less manipulated because you don't have like let's say you have your own kind of belief system. It doesn't have to necessarily contradict new information, and then you're not being personally hurt, because when you are when you just believe everything, then everything is just kind of is. That's reality that exists. That's, it's perspective. But when you only believe when something is presented with proof, then let's say that is fabricated proof, it's going to shatter your entire belief. And I just see it as not a very healthy way of living, to be shattered every time you see someone fabricating proof.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
I also think humans in general are very left-brained. I run soundpath.org, which is a music and arts based festival for the Truth and Freedom movement. And I think a lot of us have gotten caught into researching and not, tapping into our intuition, which we all have. We're not we're not feeling through things, and we disregard our feelings, and things like remote viewing, things like having telepathic or psychic abilities. This is based on empathy. This is based on, at least for me, using these other sort of sides of ourselves. And if we just close off and just only think in a certain way, we literally imprison ourselves from a whole other side of reality.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Do we have time to take questions from me? Would that be okay if we took some questions from the audience?
Sure.
So, guys, if you have a if you guys have questions, put them in the chat. I'll pull them up. We already got one here from Eric, and Eric says, we'll get to the questions now. And yeah, if you want to super chat, you can. You don't have to. You can just put your questions in the chat. But I mean, it does help support the show. So yeah, thank you, Derek, for sharing the links and stuff. Eric says, this is a lot of info as suggested above in a format that can be used to teach, let's say, in a fifth grader, I guess he's trying to say.
Yeah, so I'm actually working at a private school farm academy here in Florida, and I am going to be introducing these concepts to actual human children. I'm not going to be calling it equivalentics, but what I will be calling it is just encouraging critical thinking. Critical thinking has been left out of schools. The way math and physics are taught are, here's a problem set, solve it, you're supposed to get the right answer. The way mathematics and physics are taught in with Pleiadians is completely different. Leo, do you want to talk more about that?
We are just teaching different things to children, and sometimes when people ask me if they're already like in the education industry, I would give them tips on the way we do things. We do things differently. Sometimes it can be controversial to people. It's one of those things is because we are not afraid of putting of like being in danger, you can say. Of course, we protect the children very well, but we are also exposing them to it, because it's death is part of life, and so we're not afraid of it. It's just something we understand that exists. Without death, you cannot cherish life. Infinite creatures are envious of finite creatures, because they can have a purpose, but infinite creatures, they will live forever. They don't care. And so we believe it's a very important thing. So like instead of PE, we have survival lessons and stuff like that. So like we just do things differently. We encourage questioning of the children, physical experiences, teaching them things that are real. For example, in Equivalentics, I keep telling students, it doesn't matter. We actually encourage them to cheat. Sometimes we even teach them how to cheat. And it's about getting to the right answer. I know that, let's say, in human teachings, it's all about the way that I taught you to do stuff. No, we don't care. We want like the correct answer. It doesn't matter to me how you got to it. If you got the wrong answer, I would like to see your way. So just make sure one of two things happens. Either you're always correct, which means you're checking yourself, or you're showing me how you did stuff. So sometimes by students showing how they did stuff, we can discover new things of doing things more efficiently. So we are all about cheating because cheating gets you faster to places. And why having the correct answer is so important? Because let's say Equivalentics, for example, is very important if you're going to navigate the galaxy, because it's a multi-dimensional structure. So it's not something that you easily see always. And when you're traveling at very high speeds, then you don't have the option to correct your trajectory until it's too late. So let's say I done everything right, exactly the way I was taught, but I got something wrong and I ended up inside the sun. It doesn't matter.
Well, I love that. Yeah. This is really good stuff. I'm just going through some of the comments here. Let me see here. This is Trey Smith. He says, much love for this Rob, Jerry, and Leo. Woo chatting, folks. This is a great show. Passio is a good but so abrasive. Bring discernment to the youth. Jerry, thank y'all. He says,
I just want to say I really admire Mark Passio's work. If people want to check out whatonearthishappening.com, his work as well as other people's work, Laura Eisenhower's work was instrumental as well for me. Jay Parker's work. Jay Parker's work really shows the intersection between the SRA research field and the ET research field. So I highly encourage those that aren't familiar with his work. He's on the onegreatworknetwork.com. But yeah, everyone's got their different rhetoric style, right? I'm here to, we're Leo mentioned agendas. My agenda is to see humanity evolve. My agenda is to see us not be enslaved anymore by our own minds, by our own programming that we put upon ourselves. That's my agenda.
I agree that he's abrasive though, and I see it sometimes as a good thing. Yeah, it's not for children, but at least you know that he's being honest because you're seeing his emotions like right there on the table.
That's a good point.
And there's also this idea of sacred anger, right? Like if you aren't upset about the immoral, horrible things happening, like what's wrong with you? Like we should be upset.
Yeah. This one's from Derek, and he says, if I missed a question, sorry. It says, question, what are y'all's thoughts on 2027 and the non-human intelligence full disclosure?
Again, I think that people should just be very discerning with regard to government mediated disclosure. Leo, do you want to add to this?
I can sum it up in 2 words, and it's just something that you need to be expecting, and you probably already know it. Fear porn.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, I agree. And maybe we'll just do one more question. This is from Eric, and this is a good one. And he says, how do you recommend we can spread this education to the masses now? Agree with your messages. The education system is falling short. We need a quick spread before it's too late.
Yeah, so I can speak to this, and I'm open with my kids. My kids have asked me, "Hey, are aliens real?" I said, "Yes, they are, but there are good ones and bad ones, right? And some try to stay clear of us. So just being honest with kids. There's no such thing as Santa Claus. That's bullshit. Just being honest, and that starts with the parenting. Parents need themselves to be honest with themselves, with their own programming, with their own childhood wounding, with their own prison that they put themselves in, so that we don't pass on this prison mindset to our children. The Liberation Academy.education, I'm going to be revamping that program with the school that I'm working at locally here in Florida for an after school program collaboration. My friend Corey Engerlot, if people want to check his work on the onegreatworknetwork.com website, he's launching a food forest sort of collective homeschooling initiative where we're gathering homeschooling curriculum for families to teach their own kids and take charge of how we teach our children. We don't need to give our kids over to the state to have them indoctrinated. We can, you know, as a collective, work together to do the work ourselves as parents.
Yeah, but this was
So
great, guys. Thank you. Sorry, we had
just one moment, Robert. I picked up 2 questions from the audience that I would like to answer briefly, if that's okay.
sure.
So one from Karen McDonald. What is my culture defined as? So that's Pleiadian Nordics. Today it is known as Florine or Flourish culture. This is just as a name. And the other one, now here in noon, no time. I want to know more about paradoxes, so I can give you like something small from Equivalentics. And it's something that also exists in human math. They just don't really speak about it. So pi is the ratio between the circumference of a circle to its diameter. And now it is a number that has infinite amount of numbers after the decimal point. They are not following a pattern that you can follow and know which is the next one, yet they can all be calculated using a computer. And which means it is predictable infinity, and predictable infinity is a paradox.
I love that. Yeah, this is Well, thank you guys. This was amazing. Do you guys want to give final thoughts, like before we go and stuff? And yeah.
Leo, do you want to go first? I have many, so I want you to go first.
No, right now I don't have anything.
I just want to share utter gratitude for this moment. Rob, I know you kind of took a chance on us. You didn't know us very well. You're like, let's podcast. And, you know, truly, I think the more that we can network as a truther community, right? We each have our own kind of lanes and audiences, but, you know, the fight for human freedom is real, and it's in the spiritual realm. It involves ETs, it involves humanity. Like, this is a moment of critical choice. We can either continue going on as we have to our own downfall, or we can change our fucking behavior. That's it. You want to talk to fucking ETs, you want to fucking evolve as a species, you want to go interstellar, you want to have free energy, fucking be moral. It's that fucking simple. Just do the right thing. Don't harm other sentient beings. That includes other civilizations. And keep an open mind. You know, don't live in fear. Don't say, well, that can't be. You know, it's like I I literally, like, everything that I've learned in my experience with my friendship with Leo and others. It's like there have been many inconvenient truths that have come through, right? And it's like, okay, well, do I live in fear, or do I do something about it? Like, we have to, like, speak out. We have to rebel. We can't just let this evil go on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's like we keep getting into these wars. Like, it's I think it's time for this to stop. You know what I mean? It's time for this to, like, for us to, like, progress as a species and move on from, like, these constant wars. Like, since I've been alive on this planet, we had the first Gulf War. Then we had the Iraq War, then the Afghanistan War, and now the Iran War. I'm 46 years old, and I've been, you know what I mean? So think about it. It's been wars since I've been like 10 years old, It's crazy. Like, it's like, I don't know, I guess, like, like, part of me is like wants to be supportive towards the military and the troops because my family was military. But at the same time, it's like I can be supportive to the troops, but not support the war, Like, I don't feel right about this war. I don't feel right about any war anymore. I really don't. I don't know. I think I don't know. What do you think, Jerry?
Right. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
The military is not to blame, really. It's there to protect, and it's supposed to protect, not supposed to actually start. And I heard a saying before by a friend: the real enemy is the one to call out enemies, which means the real enemy is the one that tells you everyone is a terrorist, everyone is the enemy, everyone you need to fight with, that this country is bad, this country is bad, this leader is bad. It's always coming from one point of perspective. They're not really showing the entire personality or why sometimes people do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want this video to get shadow banned, so I won't give names, but there were leaders in history that were considered terrorists when they were angels to the people.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing. I also want to stress that there have been ETs that have come through, that have gone public, that have been worshipped, and religions have formed, and egos were inflated. And it's like, yeah, okay, they're technologically advanced oftentimes. They're more, advanced spiritually. They don't want to be worshipped.
Yeah.
I want to see a world, I want to see a universe, a reality where Pleiadians and humans can just interact, and it's not a big fucking deal.
Or are they like waiting for us to like evolve, I guess? Is that what it is?
I
Jerry?
mean,
Take responsibility, because no one
Yeah.
wants to babysit humanity after they conquer or something. That's why you're not going to see actual alien spaceships in the sky. There are basically alien spaceships in the sky all the time. They're just cloaked, because it's because first of all, the government will always use it as fear porn, and second, humanity needs to get there on their own, and it's not, and no one wants to like be there afterwards to pick up the pieces, especially because we know that humans can be very violent. Like this is well-known fact in the universe that humans is the only civilization that was able to invent the nuke before becoming interstellar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's scary.
it is scary. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like this is like the apex of human intellect to like we could have free energy, and instead we created a like fucking like nuclear bombs. Like, what a waste of intellect. Truly. Like, it's shameful. Like, I don't want to travel really to Leo's people, because I'm embarrassed to be a human. I'm fucking embarrassed. Truthfully. That's for real. Like, I'm embarrassed because we're like immoral savages. The way
Yeah.
we act.
I
By the
know.
way, nukes are being used in space to eliminate asteroids, because asteroids are quantum entangled to each other. So if you just blast them, they would come biting you up in the ass. So you need to completely disintegrate them. But this is what we use nukes for.
Yeah.
And you were saying,
Um,
Leo, that the free energy, a human Tesla, he discovered it, and then you guys, you
no,
want to
that's
talk
the
about
wireless
that?
electricity.
Oh, wireless. Sorry.
The wireless electricity is something that the Nordic Pleiadians came to learn from Tesla. And then we had to bring it back to humanity's leaders. It's been some time since that when they copied it, so they made it better, of course, and more resilient. They gave the new schematics to humanity's leaders in 2021. We're still not seeing any progress with that. And so I personally gave the schematics, and so it's just kind of sad because they just don't want they like that old ways of using fuel and everything. And so when you would be able to charge cars and phones and stuff from the air, they would have less control over it. But this is not why you're having wireless electricity. You need it for nanotechnology, you need it for medical implants, many of chronic diseases can be solved with medical implants. Yeah, well, it probably is going to also be the end of the pharmaceutical industry, so maybe that's also the reason.
Well said. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm just trying to think if there's any more. This is from wait, I just wanted to show this comment. This was a good comment from Level Plane Productions. He says, I've seen cloaked physical crafts, black triangles, and silver thin disc UFO flying low between the hills behind my house where you couldn't even see unless you had seen it with the right perspective. That's pretty cool, you know? Yeah,
Yeah, I think
a lot of people are seeing stuff a lot. Like, you know, I think the veil's thinning. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yes, and also cloaking works very well when you're stationary, but not very well when you're moving, and that's why you can see it. These are Andromedan ships. They are almost six-dimensional, so they would seem like when you're looking at something, it's like you're looking at the insides of it from the outside.
Wow. That's cool. And I just wanted to show you guys this comment here. We got a lot of comments like this, actually. This is really cool. This is from Chaley. Sorry, I was putting gum in. She says, this has been such an amazing show that I couldn't agree with Jerry more on her thoughts about humans. Thank you, Rob, Jerry, and Leo. Thanks, Chaley.
Someone asked for my contact info. So
oh yeah. Do you guys give your
right now I'm only on Telegram. At the moment I'm only on Telegram. Maybe I will create a YouTube video, YouTube channel. You can share. It's very short. The contact info is NZ1, NZ6. Well, NZ1 underline.
And Jerry, do you want to tell people how they can follow you and stuff, and your YouTube and all that?
Yes. Sorry, I'm just writing it in the chat on Telegram for Leo. Yeah, so I am freedom at soundpath.org. Like I said, I run a music festival. Anyone can contact me that way. I also run the website godislovetruthfreedom.com. So if people want to check out the Equivalentics lessons, right now we have 2 classes posted. We're going to have a third one posted probably later on this week or next week early. And yeah, people can literally just check out the class and learn Equivalentics, learn this form of simplified quantum mechanics that through our own ignorance and the way we teach math and physics have occulted from ourselves.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your music festival too, but I used to go to raves back when I was young, and I still love music festivals. What do you do with a music festival?
Yeah, so I've noticed, especially in the natural law and truther community, there's a lot of podcasts, which is great. But I come from a music background. I've been in bands. I play multiple instruments, and like, I'm really passionate about just creating a more holistic mindset. Not just doing the research but also just feeling. Feeling is so important. It's empathy is de-emphasized. Care is de-emphasized. Seeing patterns, the larger picture is de-emphasized. Through music, through the arts, we can develop a more holistic mindset and see the bigger picture better. And I am doing this through the natural law community to promote morality for humanity and ultimately real disclosure, real contact with benevolent civilizations that feel sorry for us immoral, hairless apes.
I got a question for you. You said you know the people in the natural law community. Do you know Corey Endralat? He comes on this show too.
Yeah, he's a good friend. I actually we messaged a few months back. I don't even know if you remember, but Corey introduced me to you. And yeah, he's the one who I was mentioning runs the Bigfoot Food Forest. If people want to check out BigfootFlorida.com. And actually, Ryan Golembeski, who owns the land, he's a land partner. I did an episode on my channel interviewing him because he's a ancient hominid researcher. He is really into cryptids and has had many interactions with Sasquatch, with Bigfoot, and he runs conferences surrounding this. There have been Bigfoot sightings on the property, not by me, but by others. I've had a Bigfoot contact experience myself. So, there's just so many species here that we don't see, that we choose not to see through our own just like, what was that? Oh, that can't be anything. We literally lie to ourselves as reality hits us. We hold ourselves back through ignoring what's in front of us.
Yeah, and Derek wants to know: are you guys close to Northeast Florida?
We're more in the Tampa, Newport Richey, Tarpon Springs area. So if folks want to check out BigfootFlorida.com, would love to have you join us in planting, because we don't need to rely on grocery stores and companies to feed our communities. We can just grow shit ourselves.
Yeah, they poison it anyway.
And they poison it anyway. Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. This was great. And I appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. And I'll see everybody tomorrow. And